We'll give it about 1 more minute. Looks like there's some people trying to connect still, and then we'll get started. All right, everyone, I've got 7:03, so we're gonna go ahead and get right to it. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our very first Try It Tuesday, which will be focused on our week 1 theme, which is all about goals. So if you did miss it, please, if you have the time, go back and watch our Motivation Monday with our Sinking Spring Y branch exec, Zach Rubin. The tiny goals tool that we will be using this evening was introduced during that Motivation Monday session. So if you did miss it, just give it a quick watch if you can. So tonight we're going to get you guys all thinking about goals and how our goals can help us all become the very best versions of ourselves. So just as a quick reminder, and it looks like you all have done this already, please keep your line muted so that we can hear everyone. There are going to be times throughout this workshop that we will ask you to unmute your lines and maybe share some of your goals if you feel comfortable. So that is perfectly fine. If you don't feel comfortable speaking in front of a group, you may also feel free to use the chat function and we'll go ahead and share those goals for you, excuse me. I also want to mention that before we do get started, this presentation is being recorded and will be posted in the Strong group for those who missed it or if you want to give it a rewatch. So without further ado, I am going to pass it off to our Mifflin YMCA and Adamstown YMCA branch exec, Bob Root, who's going to kick us off here. So Bob, take it away.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for the first Try It Tuesday of our Strong program. Again, my name is Bob Root, and I am the branch executive of the Mifflin YMCA and the Adamstown YMCA. Tonight, we'll be going over the 5 golden rules of goal making. I will share some of my short-term goals and my long-term vision, and so will Alyssa as well. Then we'll be able to open it up to some of you for what your goals might be, some tips that you might have, and some challenges that when it comes to goal making that you have faced in the past. So I like to start off with a quote. Whatever the mind can believe and conceive, it can achieve. So if you can dream it up, you'll be able to, you can make it happen. It's important to have a long-term vision, but that it can be broken down into short-term goals. Short-term goals are the milestones and stepping stones to our long-term vision. So the 5 golden rules are: number 1, set goals that motivate you. They need to be important to you. They should be able to relate to a high priority in your life, and write them down for why they are important. Rule number 2, SMART goals. So it's an acronym: They should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. I'll go over that again. Specific, they should be clear and well-defined. Measurable, they should include dates, amounts, etc. Attainable, make sure it is that you're able to achieve them, that it's within your reach. Relevant, these goals should point you in the direction that you want your life to head. And time-bound, they should all have deadlines. Goal rule number 3 is write your goals down. It'll help make them real and tangible. We provided the worksheets that are on the link in the Strong Facebook page under the Files tab that you can use as a resource to help set your long-term goals and weekly goals. I'm going to put mine on my fridge or here at the office where it'll remind me every day of what my goals are, so they're real and they're the forefront of my mind. Rule number 4 is make an action plan. How am I going to attain this goal? Plan all the steps that you need along the way. So for example, one of my long-term goals is to get to the gym 3 times a week. Now, in my life, as a branch executive of 2 branches and also with a 9-month-old son, that's not going to be something always easy to do. And I'm going to need to plan ahead for that time and put time aside for when I'll be able to get to the gym. And rule number 5 is stick with it. Don't be discouraged if you don't reach your goals in that timely fashion or you're unable to attain your goals for that week or day. Stick with it, get back up on the horse and keep going. Nobody's perfect. This is a journey and a process, and there's going to be some bumps and roads during that process. So the important thing is to stick with your goals and not to be discouraged. So to start off, I'd like, Alyssa, if you could share my tiny habits. This worksheet is from yesterday's Monday Motivation with Zach Rubin. I picked out 3 categories out of my pie chart that I thought I needed to work on the most. And I created some new tiny habits for him. So the first area I would like to improve is my diet. So after I drink my morning coffee, I will eat breakfast. I never eat breakfast. I know my mom's watching this right now and she's probably gonna be mad, but I never eat breakfast. So that's one thing I would like to improve. The second tiny area of work is spirituality. After I finish all my responsibilities around the house, at the end of the night, I want to take 15 minutes to reflect on my day and to take a daily inventory, not just to think about the bad things, but think about all the good things too. And think about the things that I have in my life and that I should be grateful for. And number 3, mental health. After I finish my daily reflection, I will set a bedtime alarm for 11 p.m. and go to bed when it goes off. Too often, I do not get enough sleep. And it just, as anybody who knows, if you don't get enough sleep, your next day is pretty ruined. You're kind of grumpy. And I think to be more productive, it's better if I at least get 7 hours. So if we can now go to my goals at a glance, Alyssa. Now, these are my long-term goals over the course of 6 months to a year, however long it takes. And I will show you my weekly goals after this as I try to attack a certain number of these. My first goal is going to be, like I said, get to the gym 3 times a week. This is something that's kind of fell by the wayside ever since before COVID hit. And I'm going to achieve this by planning ahead. I mentioned this earlier with my life and my job and my son. Things can get hectic, so I need to be able to plan ahead for when I'm going to be free. It's not like a couple years ago where I had a lot of free time and I could just go to the gym whenever I wanted. I need to hold myself accountable. And then I also need to ask others around me or close to me to hold me accountable and ask me to make sure I'm still going to the gym and not, instead of sitting on the couch and saying, oh, I'll start next week, holding me accountable and holding myself accountable to start right away. The next goal in the upper right-hand corner, I want to take 2 one-week vacations to recharge. I'm going to plan this. I will achieve this by planning ahead and giving myself something to look forward to. There's nothing more to look forward to than, going on a vacation, spending time with family. So I would like to start doing that. I want to limit my cell phone use while on vacation. There's plenty of times my last vacation, I think I spoke to Alyssa every single day, and I want to, disconnect from work for a little while and not check my work emails, or not answer text messages, and just be able to recharge my batteries. And lastly, I want to spend that time with my family and my son and enjoy everything that has to offer. Next goal is to improve my spirituality and positive outlook. I will achieve this by thinking of things that I am grateful for and all that I have. Too often I can get into a negative headspace and think about the things that I don't have, or think about the things that I wish I had, or looking at others and seeing things that they have that I don't. Instead, I forget that I should be grateful for what I do have, and that I have a lot. Next is limiting the time spent on social media. So a lot of times at night, I can get caught up scrolling through Facebook or on social media, and with all that negative, a lot of negative things going on in the world at times, that can put me in a bad headspace. And I need to stay away from that as much as possible. So I want to start limiting the amount of time I'm spending going through social media. And then lastly is giving myself and others positive affirmations. Too often, I don't give myself enough credit, and I could be tough on myself. And I think I probably can do that to others as well. So I want to start giving myself more credit and saying that I'm doing a good job, as opposed to saying all the things that I'm not doing. My next goal is to take a daily inventory of my day. I mentioned this earlier. I'm going to set 15 minutes aside every night to take a look at my day and the things that had happened during that day, the positives, and what were some of the negatives, and how I can improve for the next day. And I want to make that a part of my daily routine. Then I mentioned the next goal is getting 7 hours of sleep every night. So one of the ways I'm going to achieve this is I'm going to set a bedtime alarm. And once that goes off, I'm going to bed. I'm going to set that for 11 o'clock every night. And then once that goes off, I'm turning my phone off and not going to continue to scroll or play on my phone. And I want that, and I'm going to get that into a routine of doing that, going to bed every night and having that bedtime alarm. And lastly, eating 3 meals a day. A lot of times I get so busy that I only will eat dinner. Sorry, Mom, again. Don't get mad. But I will only eat dinner because I don't eat breakfast typically. And throughout the course of the workday, I'm too busy working that I don't give myself time to eat lunch. So I'm going to eat breakfast every morning. I'm going to pack a lunch every day, and I'm going to set time aside to eat lunch every day, depending on what that looks like. Now, Alyssa, if you can go to my weekly goals. So as you can see, the theme here is I'm picking 3 goals, picking 3 short-term goals for this week that are going to help attain my long-term vision. These are those stepping stones that I mentioned before. So I will get 7 hours of sleep a night. I will eat 3 meals a day, and I will reflect on my day and where I can improve each night for 15 minutes. Now, and then I broke it down for each day. Monday through Friday, they're all the same. I'm going to wake up at 6 and eat breakfast, and then pack a lunch. I'm going to eat lunch at 12 and dinner at 7. And then I'm going to do the daily reflection at 10 p.m. once my other responsibilities are done for 15 minutes. And that'll give me about a 45-minute window to unwind, relax before I have to go to bed. And then lastly, on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to get to the gym and spend some time with my family. But the important thing to remember about all this is I might not hit all these goals every single day. And it's all about sticking with it and improving myself. Because as long as I keep going and don't get discouraged that I might not be able to go to the gym 3 times a week, and I'm only able to get there once, that's okay. At least I'm trying. And the next week I'll get there 3 times a week. Now, Alyssa, would you like to start sharing yours?
Sure. Thanks so much, Bob. So I'm going to share the goals that I came up with, the long-term and also the weekly goals. So for those of you who have already downloaded the goal worksheets or you plan to, please do. Um, you don't have to have 6 goals like Bob did. For me, I know that 6 goals is probably not going to be realistic. And as Bob said, they need to be, right? So in order to set yourself up for success, if you don't think you can do 6, don't do 6. So the 3 that I came up with that I plan to work on in the next 6 months to a year and maybe even beyond that, which I did share in the strong group as well. The first one is I'm going to try and make more budget conscious decisions. So for me, I do a lot of impulse buying. I do a lot of Amazon shopping. I have a very bad habit of swinging by Dunkin' almost every morning. So for me, 3 things that I came up with to help me achieve this goal. One is making coffee at home in the morning. So something that I've started doing about 2 to 3 weeks ago is I've started making my coffee at night and setting my coffee pot on a timer. So then there's no excuse to say, oh, I'm in a hurry. I have to stop at Dunkin' Donuts because my coffee isn't ready. 2 is giving myself a monthly Amazon budget of $50 for extracurricular spending that really isn't needed. And the third one is limiting takeout to 1 night per week. So typically we do 2 nights a week most times. So I'm also a parent, like Bob said, he has an infant son. I have twin boys who are 17 months old and keep me very busy. And then I also have a kindergartner. So with his sports practices and just trying to keep up with everything, sometimes it's just easier to do takeout. So to make a better budget conscious decision, I'm going to make it one of my goals to just limit that to 1 night a week. My second goal is to exercise 5 times a week for at least 30 minutes. I will be honest, and I put this in the group too, I used to hate exercise because I was engaging in exercise that I truly did not enjoy. I do not enjoy lifting weights. I do not enjoy running. I do not enjoy being on the elliptical. So for me, it was really finding that type of exercise that I truly enjoy and that kind of fuels my fire and gets me excited to work out. So for me, that's kickboxing, which I love on our new virtual platform. If you missed it, check out our Facebook pages. And then also Zumba, which I recently got into during the COVID shutdown with some virtual classes as well. And then the other thing is making sure to schedule exercise on my calendar, which I'll show you on my weekly goal sheet in just a second. So again, with my schedule being so busy, I know that because I'm on this Zoom call tonight with all of you, I'm probably not going to get a workout in because my workout time is usually 7 p.m. So on a Sunday, when I'm planning out my week, I need to say, okay, you know what? On Tuesday, I'm not going to be able to schedule a workout at night. On Wednesday, I've got a library board meeting, so I'm not going to be able to do it then. So I've got to plan around that and make sure that I'm scheduling at least 30 minutes in those other 5 days of the week. And then the other fun thing is including my son, my oldest son, in my workouts. So I was doing a Zumba class a couple weeks ago, and he said, Mom, can I work out with you? And I said, sure, buddy. So of course he's dancing around our living room. And at the end, he said, Mom, I want to be strong like you. So for me, that's something that truly was so motivating because, you know, it's something that I'm doing for me, but also something that is really cool for him to participate into and be inspired by. So that was pretty cool. The third one for me is strengthening relationships with my family. So again, with my busy lifestyle, I don't get a lot of time with my husband. In the evenings, I really don't get a lot of time with my kids, which is why I try to incorporate my oldest son in my exercise and my workouts. But the 3 things I'm going to do to achieve this, number 1 is putting away my phone during time spent together. Being at the Y, you kind of get forced to be a workaholic. And so the phone's always going off. Emails are always popping up. There's things happening in the strong Facebook group, and it's so tempting to just grab that phone and start scrolling, right? So just putting that phone away. And one thing I do is I put my phone on the charger, because then I know like I have to walk away. I can't be tied to the wall. The second thing is for me is planning one fun activity each week that includes my entire family. So because my kids are about 5 years apart in age, sometimes that gets challenging. So really trying to get creative and find something that we can all enjoy together. And then spending at least 1 hour of uninterrupted time with my husband each week. Having toddler twins is absolutely insane at times. And so we don't always get a lot of time to spend together. So even if it's just watching a movie, or just sitting down at the dining room table at night after our kids go to bed and kind of catching up, we need to really prioritize and make time for that. So those are my long-term goals. And then I'm going to share my weekly goals. Again, Bob had a little bit more content than I did. I know that if I get that detailed, I'm just not going to do it because I'm so busy. So again, my 3 goals are there at the top. And feel free to print this out, write all over it. Whatever helps you and works for you. There's no right or wrong way to do these goal sheets. So again, one of my goals was to work out. So you'll see on Monday, last night I did a Zumba class. Tonight we are on Try It Tuesday Zoom, so no exercise for me tonight. And tomorrow I have a library board meeting. And I also squeezed in there, and my PDF was not as great as Bob's, so I apologize. But I put in a movie with my husband, Ben. So we're gonna make sure to sit down and watch a movie together and spend some time. Thursday, I'm gonna put a kickboxing workout with my son. Branson loves kickboxing because he thinks he's a ninja, loves to dance, loves kickboxing. So I'm gonna try to include him in my Thursday workout. On Friday, I am going to treat myself to Dunkin' because I don't want to totally cut that out. And it is important every once in a while to splurge and treat yourself a little bit. So Friday is going to be my Dunkin' day to do that. And then I'm also going to get in a 20-minute bike ride and a 10-minute abs workout, or I'm sorry, 15-minute abs workout. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I kind of mushed 2 goals together here. So we're going to do a 30 or more minute walk or run and a family hike. So that's something that I know we can all do together that we'll enjoy. So those are my goals. I'm going to pass the baton back off to Bob, and he's going to give you all a chance to share if you wish.
Thank you, Alyssa. So I would like to see if anybody would like to share what some of their long-term or weekly goals might look like. If there's anyone willing to do that right now, you can just unmute yourself and please feel free to speak.
I can contribute. So I wrote mine on a piece of paper. I don't have anything to share on the screen. I also haven't really gotten around to the backside yet, the weekly goals, and I kind of don't think I'm going to, mostly because, I mean, for me, and I shared this a little bit before, I feel like I'm always someone who puts off things and just says, I'll do them later, I'll do them later. And I get sucked into just being on my phone, scrolling. And I think for me, that's where a lot of my problems exist in. I find myself, kind of getting angry, kind of feeling despair because all I'm doing is scrolling, reading bad news, comparing. And I think most of my goal through this program is to cut the cord with the phone and spend more time getting sleep, creating rituals that I enjoy. Like crafts, that's one thing I shared last night. I really want to do crafts. I want to get outside more. And so I'm not someone who likes to do a weekly thing just because then I feel that I'm letting myself down if I get to the end of the day and I didn't do those things. But my plan is to pretty much just try to squeeze in like 1 or 2 hours of time that's not in any way on a social media app or on the internet like a day. And I think that's going to help a lot.
Yeah, and for some people, thank you for sharing, Ashley. For some people, again, like you can use these tools. Like I know someone who used a similar goal planning tool to kind of write out their thoughts on paper, right? And they used it one time, and that kind of helped them get organized and really think about what they wanted to prioritize and work towards. And then they kind of never used that again, or like they would revisit that every once in a while. But again, you do whatever you guys like with these tools and whatever works best for you. We're just kind of providing them as a template, and yeah, we hope you enjoy them, but you don't have to use them.
Would anybody else like to share some of their goals, weekly or long-term, that they're working on?
I'll go ahead and share. My
Okay,
name's
thank you.
Crystal,
Hi, Crystal.
and I did have one of mine for increasing my fitness because, like many others, COVID hit and all the gyms got closed, and I just stopped doing anything. So, also during COVID, we adopted a dog. So, if not for me, for her, walking the dog, I try to walk her every morning, even though it's usually only about 10 minutes. But when I get home, I like to do a nice 30-minute walk. So it gets me moving, but it's also for the dog. So there's some motivation in there. And I also teach, and right now I'm teaching virtually. I do have to go to work and I Zoom all day long. So one of my others was to walk after every Zoom, and I do 4 Zooms a day. So each time I stop, if I get up, do a lap around the building, and then come back to my classroom, that should help me get moving as well. Usually when I have students, I'm around 12,000 steps every day. And now I'm lucky if I'm hitting 4 because I'm sitting all day. So that'll get me moving.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I have a similar problem. I sit at a desk for most of the day. And I think a lot of people, if they didn't before, they're doing more of that now, right? Because there's not as much travel. There's more Zooming rather than in-person stuff. Not really anywhere to go. But yeah, I like that you're making walking a priority. Involving the dog is really cool. That is definitely a motivator. So thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Crystal. All right.
I can add.
Oh,
I'm Jill. One of my goals long term is to be more mindful of the impact that work has on me on a day-to-day basis. So knowing when to shut down my laptop, consciously choosing to assume positive intent with some things that might happen at work, and then being aware of when to turn off the electronics overall. So setting screen time limitations and things of that nature, but really letting myself know that it's a 9 to 5 and not a 24/7 job, and how that impacts my entire life. So being better at compartmentalizing.
That's a great goal. So Jill, I actually struggled with this a couple of years ago when I was a branch exec at the Y. And I know, Bob, you can probably speak to this too, but like I said earlier, like your phone is constantly going off. And so a couple of years ago, I worked on this goal, and it was so hard because it was just such a habit that I was used to. And to be completely transparent, like it was affecting my marriage. It was affecting the relationship that I had with, I only had one child at the time. So my son, because he wanted my attention, and I was constantly checking emails and things like that. So best of luck to you. You can do it, but it's hard.
Yeah, especially in a virtual environment where before you could leave and it was done, you had the car ride home, and now it's going from your desk to your bed, which is 6 feet away. So
Yep.
Separation of church and state.
It's a good way to put it.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing.
thanks, Jill. Does anybody else want to share any of their long-term goals?
I'd like to,
Go,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I'd like to thank you for these forms. I'm going to find that they're very, they will be very motivating, and I like the examples that you put out. Generally, when I, plan what am I going to accomplish today, it's like 1 or 2 words on a white sheet of paper. And that works for me, but this shows a lot more insight and thought and planning. and there are, bigger ideas that are being put down there. One of the things that I deal with is I have a bad left hip. So I can't stand for long periods. And like a long period is 10 minutes. And I can't walk I can't even walk a block without the pain setting in. I know that eventually I'm going to need a hip replacement surgery. My orthopedic doctors told me that already. But in the meantime, I do physical therapy and exercises to try to keep my mobility as best I can. And I do struggle with putting off those exercises during the course of a day. And as soon as I saw the goal sheets, like, this is a specific time, by such and such a time, I'm going to do this. So I appreciate these forms, and I appreciate you reviewing them, and they will be motivating to me. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing.
Hi, this is Carol. Listening to everybody, I can relate to every single goal that is up there. The main thing I've been doing and trying to do is to write down each morning what I plan to accomplish. Then I write down what's reasonable that I probably will accomplish. And then I just try to stay positive when I don't accomplish any of it. Because in working every day, it just seems like things twist and turn and you really can't get done what you expect to do. And you have to find good in that too, that there was something else good that came out of it. That's the main thing I deal with every day.
Yeah, I like how you said that, it's important to remain positive, and sometimes that's a hard goal to achieve, right?
Yeah.
Like I know I find myself doing that. Bob, you and I have had conversations about that, right? Like,
Yeah.
Especially with COVID at the Y, and as you know, we do a lot of fitness stuff. So when that stuff gets shut down, we're like running around with our hair on fire, and new things coming out for childcare and new regulations for youth sports. So a lot of times we have good intentions to get things done on our to-do list. And like I said, Bob and I literally just had that conversation. Like, sometimes you just have to take some time to reflect and say, okay, I didn't get the things done on my to-do list, but here are all the things that I did. And this was the outcome, and just celebrating that, even though it wasn't part of your initial plan. So
Exactly.
yeah, hear ya. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for sharing. Another question that I wanted to open up was like, what are some tips and successes that anyone has had in the past for goal setting? They would want to share them. That's something that works for them in the past.
Specifically, I know a lot of people alluded to this with the screen time and all. So I used to set the limitations through the settings on your phone, but I found that I would just ignore them eventually. Like it might work for a little bit, but I would just like pause for the day or whatever the option is. But I noticed during the week, I'll delete off my phone the actual app for Snapchat or Facebook or whatever, and then re-download the app on the weekends. And I found that that's enough of a barrier to not, like, I won't go in my phone and re-download it just to look at something for 5 minutes. But I can treat myself on the weekends to doing it if people have that specific goal in mind.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, I know like sometimes I'll go on my phone to like send a text or make a phone call, and I like subconsciously click some sort of social media. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's great. Deleting it is a great tip. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
I need to do that.
So easy to get in that rabbit hole of social media.
Oh yeah.
Internet in general. So yeah, that's a great tip. I never thought about that. Because I have used those alarms, the bedtime alarm and stuff, and a lot of times I'll just hit ignore.
It's so easy to ignore them. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I think another good tip just for goals in general is keeping track of them. So say your goal is to get to the gym 3 times a week. If on your calendar, every day that you get to the gym, you put a check mark or a star or whatever, then you can go back and look at it, and it kind of gives you a sense of achievement, which helps you stay on track for your goals as well. So I'm like a to-do list person, so I like checking things off the to-do list. So when you can keep track of things and see progress, then it makes it a little bit more, if you get a little bit better of a feeling out of it. It makes it more successful, I guess, even if it's only a mind game.
Yeah, that's super satisfying for me too. Like just crossing stuff off. You're
Yeah.
like, yes. But then for me, I'm like, okay, I should rewrite my to-do list because now it's like a disaster. And then I'm like, oh, well, I should probably add this. I should probably add this. And then it's like, okay, we're starting all over again here.
Yeah, it's never ending.
Yep.
I like to write them on Post-its and then I get to throw them away. That's a good feeling.
That's good too.
Hi, this is Brandy. I know for me is just being accountable or asking for help. Sometimes that's difficult. So like I utilize my best friend to say, hey, these are my goals. You know, can you help me stay in check with those? And, you know, we work through those together, and she kind of helps me stay accountable in case I tend to go south somewhere, when she knows that I want to, you know, really stay focused on them. So that's something I utilize as well.
Yeah, I have never done that, but my husband also has an exercise goal as a long-term goal, and he's participating in this group too. And he forgot about this Zoom meeting tonight, and he said, do you want to do a HIIT workout together later? And for me, it's not even him holding me accountable. It's the competition that I know I'm going to outperform him during the workout. That's motivating for me. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Anybody else? Any tips or successes that you've had in the past that you could share with everyone?
I think Ashley's raising her hand.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I'll add one last thought, is like kind of like what Carol was saying earlier, of recognizing at the end of the day, like even if you didn't get your goals done, you still have value. I've also been trying to instill in myself the idea that like it's not too late to do a goal, and that it's okay if it didn't happen in the time frame you originally thought. Like, for example, I like to do housework in the morning, but sometimes I have to remind myself, rather than waiting till the end of the day and being like, well, I didn't do anything because I didn't get them done at the times I wanted, that it's okay. Housework can happen at night, or, you know what I mean? Vice versa. Something I do at night can happen in the morning. It doesn't matter what order they're in. It just matters that they get done and that I try to get them done.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley. I have one more question that I would like to ask the group. And that is just what challenges, or what would you say the biggest challenges that you faced when you have run into with your goal setting in the past? If anyone would share that. And what might you have done to overcome that?
Did you want to know what challenges there are, or I guess I need you to rephrase it?
Yeah, so I'm just knowing what was a challenge that you might have run into in the past, and then how did you overcome it?
For me, it's making the time to do everything. And it's, you know, we're all busy. There's a lot of us that have shared that we have children, and, you know, maybe running a kid back and forth, or your job is demanding. And it's just a time sometimes, you know, making that time. But I think one of the big things that you had even said, one of the 5 pillars, is stick with it. Just because you missed it, and like Ashley was saying, just because you miss it one day doesn't mean you need to give up on it. You can start over the next day.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you.
I'll share one, Bob. I wasn't planning to share, but I'll share. So for me, I I love to eat. I love to cook. I'm not going to lie. And I don't always make the best eating choices. In fact, once I get to like a comfortable place with the goals that I shared with you all tonight, I'll probably have a more specific goal related to nutrition. But right before I had my twins, I lost almost 50 pounds. And so for me, something that I struggle with is still mindless eating, having ice cream multiple times a week, making choices for dinner at night that may not be the greatest, slacking on my workouts, which is why I have an exercise goal. So for something that has really helped me is looking back at pictures of myself 50 pounds heavier and just thinking to myself, I really don't want to go back there. Like I'm really comfortable in my body now and I feel really good. So just kind of recollecting on, you know, how it felt to have that extra 50 pounds and just keep reminding myself, like, you can do this, you know, you did this, you can do it. So that's really helped me.
Thanks, Alyssa. It's really
Sure.
true.
For me, with work being a goal and being mindful of it, I know that I have an ability to not say no to projects. So if someone asks for help, I will always do it. And that will put me in situations where I might be working later than I want to, or extending myself too far. So something that I've been trying to be better about is creating action items that are actually attainable and seeing if those extra projects are something that is beneficial for myself and the other person and isn't going to drive me insane. So those are just some of the obstacles of just like who I am as a person and how work has impacted me in trying to be more mindful, while also learning how to say no.
Thanks, Jill.
Mm-hmm.
If nobody else has anything, I guess I'll give it back to you, Alyssa, and we can wrap it up.
Did anyone else want to share before we adjourn?
I think Chris shared something in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. I didn't check that. That didn't even pop up for me. Where's the chat? Ah, yeah, Chris did. Sorry, I missed that, Chris. So Chris says, learning to really appreciate the value of taking time to plan and write down the goals and the steps to reach those goals that will matter.
Thank you, Chris.
Any other last minute? Crystal says, be mindful, not mindful.
Oh.
I love that. I'm going to write that down. All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. Somebody asked in the chat privately where you can find the goal planning forms. Those are all on our website, ymca-berkscounty.org on the Strong page. Or you can also find those on the Facebook page in the Strong group. So if you go back to the post where you found this Zoom link, those are PDF downloads right there in the exact same post. So if you have trouble finding those, just message us and we'll make sure you get them. But I just want to thank you all for tuning in and for all of your participation tonight. Before we end, I just wanted to touch quickly on two things just to keep in mind throughout the goal planning process. So number one, this is going to be hard, right? So if you were to ask a marathon runner if their goals were easy, what do you think they would say? If you were to ask someone who lost 100 pounds if their journey was simple, what do you think they would say, right? So this stuff is hard and sometimes it is not going to be easy. And like we've kind of said all throughout, disclaimer, you may experience some failure at times, right? So don't be too hard on yourself. It is up to you to pick yourself back up and kind of keep going, which leads me to my second point, which is you guys can all do this, right? So let me repeat that. You can all do it. So you can do anything that you guys can put your mind to. I mean it, because you guys are all amazing. So please just keep that in mind throughout this entire challenge, throughout your goal planning process, and just remember to be kind to yourselves. So I look forward to hearing about all of your goals in the strong group, and I hope you guys hang on and keep participating, but have a great rest of your week, and thank you guys again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And take care.
Gotta stop recording. I gotta figure out.